Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So once again, Brian McKnight is at it again. Now, there were some people that were saying he's only doing this for attention, for likes, for clicks, for views. And I do believe that, other than him just taking another opportunity to slander his children again. And it's really messed up. It's really sad. I feel like most people, from what it seems to me, I said most people, seem to be waking up to the fact that he's more than likely the common denominator because his kids and his ex-wife have never really had anything to say about him. They don't get on social media constantly making comments and disrespectful remarks. When it comes to him, he's always the one initiating these toxic, negative, dysfunctional exchanges concerning his children online. He is always the one using his platform, weaponizing anybody ignorant enough to fall for it, to be disrespectful towards those kids. Now, before anybody says, oh, well, you don't know what happened behind closed doors, to try and justify his disrespect of his own children, which is never justifiable or excusable, you also don't know what happened behind closed doors. We've talked about this whenever he first started doing all this crazy mess not too long ago. That yes, families fall out sometimes. Yes, children make mistakes. Parents make mistakes. But one thing people should never do is, once again, use their platforms in social media to slander, defame, or disrespect their family members, especially an adult. Let me put that in quotation marks. An adult, a parent also in quotation marks. A parent being disrespectful publicly towards their child. Like I said before, we understand that families fall out. We understand that parents and children don't always get along. Things happen. Sometimes people make mistakes. But there are some things we ought not ever do. Some words about them we ought not ever let come out of our mouth, especially publicly, like I said. Now, especially have a distaste and an annoyance for people, once again, who use their platform, especially if they are a celebrity, they have a celebrity status. They use their platform to get ahead of the narrative and paint some idea that they were never in the wrong, that they never did anything wrong, that they didn't fall short as a human being. I can't stand it when people do stuff like that. 9 times out of 10, it's a celebrity. I've told y'all before, these celebrities are raggedy. Y'all don't know what they've done behind closed doors. So I guess all this came up because he was already saying some things and some person got into his comment section and he really had the audacity to say, oh, well, big ups to this guy because he gets it. And the crazy part is, these people who are commenting under his comment sections, who don't even know him like that, for all they know, he could be blatantly in the wrong and could have done some stuff that he ain't said that he did yet. Yet here they are, just supporting this guy and agreeing with everything he says because they identify with him, because they're as toxic as he is, or because he's a celebrity. They think he can do no wrong. They've propped him up on this ridiculous, goofy behind pedestal. But anyways, I get it that sometimes you have to put boundaries. Sometimes you got to keep people at a certain distance because they don't want to do right in your family. And he took that as an opportunity once again to slander his children, calling his children allegedly the product of sin. Now, here's how goofy that is. This is what I be talking about. There was a preacher that said, he came up with the phrase, sin will make you stupid. That comment was stupid. And it was stupid because, okay, if they're the product of sin and they came from you because you're their father, then what does that say about you? You are the original sin. So again, that comment was stupid when you really think about it. There was a lack of wisdom in that. Him trying to go so far out of his way to slander his kids again. And I don't even understand why he's still talking about not being in their life, cutting them off, not being involved with them, after whatever he did or didn't actually explain or claim that they did that made him do it. They have not been in this man's life for some time now, if I'm not mistaken. Them kids then went on and tried to make their own lives for themselves. They ain't been involved with this man. They don't even live with him. He is with his new family, his new Brian McKnight Jr., his new wife. Why does he still have their names in his mouth? That's what I'm talking about, where clearly the common denominator here is him. Them kids wasn't thinking about him. They didn't say nothing about him. His ex didn't say anything about him up until just recently. He's with his new family. Why is he still talking about them? Why is he still referencing them? He's happy, remember? But clearly something's wrong here because he's still always talking about them. So this video went viral, and one of his sons, I think it was his younger son if I'm not mistaken, who unfortunately is battling cancer at the moment. See, this is stuff that nobody thinks about. While he's up here clowning, showing his whole behind, being disrespectful to some kids that haven't even said anything to him, that don't use their platform unlike him to be disrespectful to him. His son allegedly is out here battling cancer. Like, I don't care what happened between the two of them. His son does not deserve to have to go through that and put up with this foolishness at the same time. Now, his youngest son responded, like I said, this is the first time I'm ever hearing from this young man. And he said some very interesting things that if these are true, once again, Brian McKnight needs to stop talking because he's trying to paint his children like the spawn of Satan. But like I said, if any of this is true, then he's worse. He's a horrible father. Let's just be honest. But this young man took to the internet and he made some claims, some accusations is what I'll call them. But this is what he posted. I'm evil? That's wild. The guy who used to make me clean his used condoms out of his bathroom at 15 before Lisa got home is calling me evil for sure. The guy who forged signatures on our names is calling me evil for sure. And like I said, if this is true, that is absolutely raggedy. I briefly mentioned this before with the whole 50 Cent situation, but there were people pointing out that, if somebody has always something disrespectful and rude to say, always putting somebody else's business out there, talking about this person was evil, that's why the relationship went to the trash. They're always constantly bothering people who are not bothering them, throwing information that we didn't ask for, that we don't need to know, that's their business, that they needed to keep as their business out there on the internet. Sometimes it's because that person is covering their own business that they don't want thrown out there. People really be thinking, oh, well, they wouldn't be saying all this if they had their own skeletons. No, a lot of people sometimes will throw stones because they have skeletons. They will be disrespectful and loud about it because they have skeletons. They're trying to make themselves seem better by making everybody else look bad, by putting everybody else's business out there, by embellishing details about what people have done and making them look so horrible for the mistakes and the human deeds that everybody else has done. Very judgmental, very uppity, very self-righteous, if you ask me. But anyways, in another post, his son said, "We were bad children, sure, yes, but my sisters have always deserved better. They don't deserve this outright disrespect. Hate us all day. You don't get to be a piece of, I'm not about to say that word, forever and still skate by with all that we know." We saved that man from federal prison. That's all I'm going to say. But after all this, I still love him so much because I know there's my dad in there somewhere, but he's a drone now. So sad. Miss you, Dad. Now, before anybody says, oh, well, he admitted he was a bad kid, and tries to use that once again as an excuse for why this grown behind man who is a parent and a father disrespects his children the way that he does on social media. Everybody's kids were bad kids at one point in time. Some of these people who are talking about, yeah, you right, them kids was bad kids. They were hellions growing up. It was a misfortune for anybody to cross their paths because that was how horrendous they were to people. And some of them same people are still horrendous. So like I said, let's not sit up here and throw stones like everybody's child is good, especially in these today times. Let's just be honest. Most of these kids are horrible. Their attitudes are horrible because the parents are horrible. And I've said this before again, referencing the 50 Cent situation. You are a parent. It is your job. It is your responsibility to raise your child, to discipline your child. Allegedly, apparently, that young man also admitted in another post that he was very spoiled growing up, but that he was working on himself, working on his flaws. At least the boy admitted to his faults, took some kind of accountability. That's more than what could be said about Brian McKnight. It is a parent's job to discipline, love, and show affection to their children, to raise them right, to make sure they turn out right. Yes, I'm acknowledging sometimes they'll still jump off the deep end. But some of these parents, like I said before with the Aoki situation and her mother and her father too, low maintenance, low effort parents who don't like to do much, who throw in the towel easy. You don't get to lay up and procreate and then decide you're just going to throw them in the trash because they didn't do all of what you wanted them to do, because they were kids like everybody else's kids were, because they made mistakes like everybody else did. You can be a parent and tell God to help you and tell God thank you once he does, once he works it out. But the way people approach parenting, this idea of parenting that a lot of black people I've noticed in the community have these days, and not just these days, but starting from like 10 years ago, is very disgusting. It's very messed up. You would wonder why these people even laid down to have children to begin with if this is how they were going to treat their kids or approach parenting to begin with. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak-minded. It's not for people who give up on their children when they're supposed to be being strong and determined and diligent, having integrity, training and disciplining their children. Anyways, apparently somebody on one of these little social media platforms tried to confront him and basically reminded him that he basically low-key disowned them kids and that was not something good to do. They basically said that he has turned himself away from God by disowning them kids. I've said before, I've reminded people before on this channel what the Bible says about a man that doesn't take care of his kids, what it calls those kind of individuals. It's biblical. Go read it. It's in there. But he didn't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to hear that. And I've also said before, I'm not saying hold your child's hand from day 1 to day 100 years old, so to speak. I'm saying help them along the way. Of course, once they become adults and they can financially, mentally stand on their own legs, they go out and get their own jobs, their own houses, their own cars if they can. A lot of people these days have resorted to staying at home with their parents, which I don't blame them for. I don't throw stones at them for, because have y'all seen this economy lately? I don't think there's anything wrong with a person, an adult, staying at home with their family, with their parents, with the kind of economy that we have today. Although this culture, like I said, especially in the black community, of parents saying, okay, you're 18, you're no longer my responsibility. It's trash. It's garbage. It's of the devil. It's disgusting. You don't just shed your children like coats in the summer. They're still your children. You still have a responsibility to help them if you can. If it's so much as giving them $20 to make some ends meet, you should be able to do it. You should do it if you can. But like I said, a lot of black people have this mentality where, well, if you can't make it on your own, like how I did, forgetting the fact that they might not have the same skills and talents that their parents did, or the economy, once again, is different. Things are not the same as it was back then. They just throw them under the bus and chalk them up to laziness and not want to do anything. But anyways, he had the audacity to reply to this person, once again doubling down on his children, in his eyes, being the product of sin. Once again, that's stupid, because that would make him the original sin. And actually, when you think about it, we're all the product of sin. We all came from Adam and Eve. They sinned first, so we're technically all the product of sin. But thank God, once again, we just got done celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, Yeshua, who died for our sins. So we ain't got to walk around with that stigma. We can be redeemed if we choose to be. So that kind of rhetoric is ungodly to use anyways, and once again, just plain straight up disgusting. Then he had the audacity to say that he didn't even raise them, that their mothers did. So basically, he admitted that he didn't do his job as their father. Once again, he's the common denominator here, and he's been telling on himself since day one. He's been confirming that since day one. Then also had the audacity to tell them to make sure they knew the whole story before quoting the Bible. If he knew the Bible and had any respect for the author of the Bible, Yeshua, God, he wouldn't be acting the way he's acting right now. Then had the audacity to end it by saying taking their inaccurate negativity off of his page and try being happy. No, sir, trying to be happy is what your kids and your ex-wife were trying to do before you decided to take to the internet, like I said, every 6 months to quarters of the year, and slandering them or saying something disrespectful and weaponizing your ignorant followers against them. Once again, for anybody who's confused, these children have not really been in his life for some time now, for some years. Once again, they don't even usually get on social media. And even if they do, it doesn't usually go as viral as his stuff does, because he's the celebrity. He's the one with the large following. And if they do say something, it's usually in response to something he's already said that was out of line, that was out of pocket, that was disrespectful. Now, like I said before, usually his ex-wife stays out of it. I really do applaud her and give kudos to her, because She's better than me. I would have been said something ages ago. People love to say, oh, don't bring the kids into it. Leave the kids out of it. Once you bring the kids into it, then we really get mad. Then we really get angry. Then it's really a problem. But Brian McKnight brought his own kids into this situation in the most disrespectful way possible, and nobody said anything. Nobody held him accountable. Like I said, now people are seeming to wake up and see through his hogwash, but people didn't seem to keep that same energy of leave the children out of it with his kids. And I don't care that his kids are adults, still leave them out of it. Like I said, they didn't have that same energy for them. As I said before, his ex-wife maintained her silence for these years. And some people really have this audacity where they feel like, oh, well, why does she have to say something now? People have the right to defend themselves when somebody is making them look bad or painting a false narrative about them. Because there were some things that he said that had people out here trying to put two and two together, calling themselves trying to put two and two together. He basically was trying to make people read between the lines with some of the slick mouth stuff that he said. For example, whenever he was posting all those pictures of his new wife, which I'm not saying that he can't post pictures of his new wife, but the captions under those pictures were talking about stuff, saying things to the effect of, oh, those songs that I made back in the day that y'all like so much, they have no meaning to me. Like I didn't make them with any meaning because I wasn't with anybody who gave them meaning, but now I am. This new wife that I have, she's the one who gives these new songs passion and meaning, which had people out here thinking he was trying to imply that his ex-wife was a horrible wife, wasn't somebody that gave his life meaning. Nobody considered once maybe he was just the issue. I mean, not even considered it, I don't feel like. Maybe some people did, but I don't feel like most people did. But finally, like I said, she put out a response because how much is one woman, one person, expected to take? Especially when her children are involved, when bad things are being said about her children, and once again, people who are on the internet who are ignorant to the situation and what actually happened are putting comments out there as if they were there. She put out a video, and I want you guys to hear what she said because I agree with her 100%.
Hello, my IG family. First and foremost, I have to give so much love to everyone who has sent so many positive vibes, messages to myself, my children, in light of the horrible comments that were brought to my attention today, in reference to from the past. Hi, all y'all coming in. If I'm not able to just give hugs and waves to all of you, I see you and I appreciate you being here and I appreciate the support that you've given me. Those of you who do follow me, you know how I strive to live within a space of positivity. I try daily to make a conscious effort to remain in that space, because outside of that isn't a happy place to be. Physically, mentally, spiritually, it's better for me to be in a space where I make sure that the joy is what's around me, because I have so much to be thankful for, so many things that I'm grateful for. And I know the way the devil works, and I know that in those times where blessings are bountiful, he likes to creep in, and he likes to use things that he feels will touch parts of you to bring you out of a space where your energy is brought to a lower vibration, lower level, because then you're no longer able to continue on a path where you are okay. That day and that time and that moment and in those seconds, it will and has been and will forever be in reference to my children. As I'm sure most mamas are, as I'm sure most daddies are. And at some point, it's just enough. It's just enough. And it has to be clear that, and hopefully it can help some other folk who might be dealing with situations where there's a constant gnaw of ridiculousness that's trying to get its way, almost like a rat that knows there's food on the other side that will nourish every part of them because they're not getting it. And with this situation, it's attention. So that rat just keeps digging and it keeps digging and it chews through wires and it chews through holes in any way it can find an end to hopefully get into your space, snatch everything so you can go running through the house and try to hit it with a broom. That's what their intent is. I want you, just as I daily am trying my best to do, is to find those spaces where you don't allow that into your space. And I know there's some that's going to say, well, you're addressing it now. Why? Because he said something about you. The things that have been said about me, you would not believe. I don't want to draw attention to anything. And if I ever do, it is only to help if there's someone who's in a situation who feels like they're being just pushed, prodded, probed. This is that type of situation where everything, of course, in me wants to run amok through every street in this city and that city and the other city, and that would do what? The point at the end of every negative situation, whether it's an illness, whether it's a fool that you have to deal with because they keep entering your life when you are no longer giving any more energy to it. It's to only keep you down to where they thought they had you because they knew that they were the author of an extreme situation, emotionally, mentally. And they're no good at not being the center of that attention anymore. So when everybody pulls that away, it's like a kid who throws a tantrum. I'm going to do more. I'm going to raise up. My voice is going to get louder until I end up on the ground kicking and screaming. And then I'm going to show you that, I got you. No. You continue to stay in that space that keeps you cool. And I'm telling you this from experience because this is a time where I do understand that things can hit here. And at this point, on a day like today, it's here. So it's beneficial to kind of bring it in a space that makes sense again, which leads me to this. That's all I'm going to give that.
Anyway, so this video is about 4 or 5 minutes long. If you want to see the actual whole video in its entirety, not just the paused video and only the audio, which I did because of YouTube guidelines and stuff like that, the video is out there. It's out on YouTube. It's on social media if you want to see the entire video. Everything she said in that video, like I said, I completely agree with. Now, she went on to say that she was writing a book. That's when she was saying, I'm moving on from this. And she's talking about how the book that she's writing is now being put out there. She talked about how she loved her children. She was proud of them. How she was very happy that God allowed her to be their mother and gave her the strength and the empowerment to take care of them. The duty to take care of them. She said that she did raise them essentially by herself, but she also had her family and her community that did help and contribute. Not Brian McKnight. Other than that, she raised those kids by herself and she was grateful for them and grateful for, like I said, God empowering her to do that at that time for her children. Another thing she said that I very much agree with is that whenever you are on the right track, of healing, forgiveness, functionality, you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to be in God's will and do what's right. Yes, the devil will send people, including some of your own family members, ex-husbands, ex-wives, ex-spouses, whatever else, to try and trip you up, to try and basically bring you down to their level, get you in a place where you are no longer in the will of God, where you're no longer walking in healing, forgiveness, and functionality, where you are in this place where you're cussing people out, you're going off on people, you're paying attention to things that you should not be, paying attention to people you should not be. It is a trick of the enemy to get you out of place so you won't be where you're supposed to whenever God is coming to bless you for all the things you've been praying for, or simply just to make you slip up and stumble once again and get out of the will of God. Do stuff that you should not be doing, giving your energy and time to things you shouldn't be. And even if you mess up a little bit, ask God for forgiveness, forgive yourself, and ask those people, if you have offended anybody, to forgive you, and then get back on the right track, do the right thing. That's what she was encouraging people to do, to not let people get them in a place where they're out of the will of God or they're out of line, or you sink to their level because you've done too much and God has helped you through too much for you to go back now. No, it's not easy. And like I mentioned earlier, she even addressed why are you making a video about it now, people? Because that's a part of it too. It's hard to not say anything while people are being disrespectful towards you or somebody you care about. But again, at the end of the day, she's a mother. Like I said before, she had the right to say something where it concerns her children. But she did it correctly. She addressed the problem. She didn't give him too much publicity. She didn't give him publicity at all. She just addressed the problem because people brought it to her attention. And then she moved on. I like the analogies that she used. That sometimes it's like a rat gnawing constantly, because that's sometimes how people really be out here acting. They really just be pushing, like she said, pushing buttons to get a response, to get a reaction, to get attention. And sometimes, make no mistake, it's because these people are mad because the people who they did wrong are moving on with their lives. They're no longer giving them attention and their energy. So like she said with the child analogy, they've got to do stupid stuff. They got to act disrespectful. They got to be spiteful until they finally get what they want, the attention that they want. But like I said, she was encouraging people to not give people that attention, to not sink down to that level. Like I said, no, it's not easy, but it's necessary, imperative even. Now, like I said before, a lot of these people are really starting to see through the hogwash. They're not buying this stuff that he's putting on, this, show that he's putting on of disrespect toward his family, his children. They're not buying it $3 for $1, let alone $2. They're acknowledging the fact that this woman has not said anything, that he's very much wrong for how he treats his children. Okay, if you didn't want to give them money, like I said, once again, those are still your kids. You still should be there for them as their father, because you are their father. And guess what? You chose to be. Them kids didn't choose to have him as a father. If they could have chose, I'm pretty sure they would have chose somebody else. But he was the one who chose to be their father. They didn't have any say in this. Again, people acknowledging the fact that he is still their father. He still should have been there as a father for those kids. He chose not to be, and he brags about it every chance that he gets. So I don't understand where the disconnect is coming, with some people who aren't seeing, like I said, through the hogwash that he's been presenting all this time. Also, people have been pointing out the fact that this woman, and I said this before too, whenever we first started making these videos about this, that woman that he's with, she can sit up and act like she don't know, but she better make like the Page sisters and act like she know pretty soon. Some people really think it's cute the way he's acting towards his family, his kids and his ex-wife, and how he doesn't treat her, his new wife, like that at all. But what people don't understand about individuals who have a mindset, who have behaviors like Brian McKnight, the moment his new wife and his new stepchildren don't measure up to his unrealistic, ungodly, unreasonable standards, the moment they do anything wrong, the moment they make one mistake, the moment they mess up or disagree with him, even if he's in the wrong, let one thing bad happen, he's going to turn that vitriol over to them as well. And even if he doesn't, for the individual saying, oh, that's not true, that's not what he's gonna do because he likes them, and whatever other excuse you want to use, people reap what they sow. I've said this all the time. God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you're gonna reap. It'll be real funny if he gets to the end of the road and them same individuals he propped up on a pedestal while throwing his other kids under the bus end up being the ones throwing him under the bus. Because that's what ends up happening a lot of times in these situations. Whether it's this or the other, like I said, God is going to hold him accountable for everything he has chosen to do. He can throw all the accountability on his kids and his ex-wife if he wants to. But God will hold him accountable even if he won't hold himself accountable. Like I said before, people are not here for his hogwash. They're not buying it $3 for $1. And I'm here for it. I'm here for people in the community trying to confront him and trying to hold him to that much accountability as they can for what he's done, for saying, nah, you wrong for this. you're wrong. And a lot of people are very disappointed in him. People who used to support him very, very much, which is why I keep telling y'all, stop putting these celebrities on a pedestal. A lot of people have fallen off as a fan of his because of his behavior. Before anybody says, oh, why should we judge whether or not we should be his fan by his behavior? Once again, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. How would you like it if it was very blatant, the disrespect was very blatant, that somebody in your family who was supposed to respect you and love you was showing to the entire world? Your father, your mother, your sister, your brother blatantly disrespected you publicly. And instead of people saying, we're not going to stand for this, we don't think this is right, we wouldn't like it if this was us or our mama, so we're not going to support you until you do what's right. We're not going to support you and put money in your pockets by buying your songs and going to your shows for you to turn around and then to be empowered to disrespect and abuse people, the people who you should be respecting the most right after God. Instead of saying all of that, instead of having that level of integrity and respect for their fellow man and woman when it comes to who they decide to support, they just say, well, we don't care what he did to you. We don't care if he might have been abusive to you. We don't care if he got ahead of the media and painted this narrative to make him look good and you look bad. We don't care what might have happened behind closed doors. We're just going to support him because we want to identify with him because of the idol worship, low-key, of the celebrity, because he made some good songs here or there. Like, that would be a raggedy society to live in. There would be a whole lot more people, celebrities, walking around with no level of accountability. I don't think y'all understand. That is some of the only accountability, aside from what God is going to hold them to, that some of these celebrities will face. I don't think people understand how many people could have been saved from abusive relationships where celebrities are concerned, not just wives, husbands, but children, friendships, if people would have had that kind of integrity where it concerns who they support. But anyways, y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about all of this down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.